enable screen sharing for me. Oops. Okay. Actually, sorry, I have some, okay. And everyone can see my screen, right? So what we're going to start today is kind of an intro to how to create Gutenberg blocks with ACF. And so first, I'll explain a little bit about what advanced custom fields is. Does everybody know what that is, or anybody? Okay, so basically advanced custom fields that someone has ingeniously created for WordPress, which allows you to be able to get additional fields onto pretty much anything inside WordPress, right? So you could attach it to posts, you could attach it to pages, you could attach it to taxonomy, you can attach it to anything you like. And what they have done is that they actually have created a way that you could make Gutenberg blocks with these custom fields. And there are some basic elements that's required, and they're just like actions that you need to add and callback methods within advanced custom fields that you have to do to create the fields to be used for Gutenberg block. So I'm gonna actually start by creating a website very quickly. I don't know if you have ever used local, and so I'll also introduce that, I guess. So this is how I code. I use local WP. And local is this app you can download, and it allows you to create WordPress sites very quickly. And the kind of underpinnings of it is it's kind of like Docker containers. So it creates these virtual environments where you have a web server, PHP running, and then a database. And it does everything to hook it up. So it's pretty quick, and I will show you how that works. So we're going to create a website, and we'll just call it Northeast Ohio Gutenberg, I don't know, ACF. There's some advanced options here, which you normally don't need to do anything with. And I usually just use the preferred. You could customize it by changing PHP versions, changing what kind of web server you want, and picking like the MySQL version, but I usually just do preferred. And then, for your WP admin password, I just, admin, it doesn't really matter. And then here you can even like create it as a multi-site. So basically with just these few things, you add it and it starts to work on creating this container. Within the container, it will put in like, the WordPress core and a bunch of stuff. And it wants you to put in your computer password so that it could also update your local hosts file. And by doing that, it creates this host name that you can use to actually access the website. So it does take a few minutes, but once it finishes running like it has now, you just click on open site. And of course, it doesn't want to open in the right browser here, which I will pull over there. So it created this Neo Northeast Ohio Gutenberg ACF website. And then of course our admin, WP admin, we put admin, and now we're in. So we've created our first site pretty quickly. It's pretty easy. And so one thing I do want to show, like we all know that Gutenberg blocks are, kind of the default editor nowadays, right? So just to show you what it looks like and the advantages of it, it's basically a way for you to have a separation between design and content, right? So we could pick, like, say, I'm not sure what's a good one, say buttons. And so you could type in here, that's your button. It will be responsive, so you don't need to worry about it. And over here on the right side, there are other settings that you could do to affect the look and feel of the Gutenberg block that you're editing. Okay, and it's very important to understand that you have kind of, in context editing of content, and that's happening within this main area. And there could also be additional places where you could change the look and feel of that block that you're creating, right? But it's in this kind of right column. And there's also a way that you can kind of like mix the two together. I think if I could remember how that's done, it might not work for all blocks. And see, there's a lot of settings here that you could use. All right, so now we're going to create our first plugin. And normally the way that I like to customize and create these Gutenberg blocks in ACF is that I like to create a plugin. A lot of times people prefer creating them just in the theme that they're working on. But for me, like a lot of my clients, for example, I think we have this one client. They change the look and feel of their website every year. And so if you were to create all these customizations in the theme, then as you create a new theme, you have to migrate them over, right? So for the most part, what we do is we would create a plugin. And then inside this plugin, we're going to start and create our first Gutenberg block. So I'm going to go and open up this new website that I had just created in local WP, which is going to be under local sites. And this is Neo Gutenberg ACF that we just created. And the structure with how local is set up is that there's this app public WP so in this app public folder, this is where the WordPress site is. And so in here, as you can see, there are no plugins. So we're going to go ahead and, create our new folder. And I'll just call it, I guess, Gutenberg demo. And inside Gutenberg demo, we can create our first file, first plugin. And I'll just show you kind of the anatomy of am I going too fast, by the way? I know sometimes I go too fast. And just stop me if you have any questions.
Thank you.
All right, sorry about that.
You're actually going just fine.
Okay, all right. So give me 1 second here. I already have a bunch of code that I put together, so I'm trying to get to that so I can make things a little bit faster. Where is it? Okay. So the anatomy of a Gutenberg block is you just need, I'm sorry, the anatomy of a plugin is that you really just need a PHP file in here. You can call it anything you like. So we'll just call it Gutenberg demo.php. And the key of creating any plugin is really just starting a PHP and calling it plugin name. That's really what you need. So once you've done that, if you come back to your WP admin and you go to plugins, you're going to see your plugin right here, right? And all we've had in this file is just really a comment. And I'll go ahead and activate that. Okay. So the other thing that we're going to need, since we're creating this out of advanced custom fields, is we need ACF, right? So I kind of have my cheat, kind of a cheat to install a whole bunch of plugins really quickly, I use something called Composer. And composer.json, if I could, where's my, sorry, I'm having basic ACF blocks. Where did it go? Composer.json. Okay. So here's my composer.json. It just comes with a whole bunch of things that I would like to be installed as a plugin and sometimes a theme. And in here, this is my purchased version of a bunch of Gutenberg blocks, and here's Advanced Custom Fields Pro. So this is what I'm going to be installing. Hopefully this will make sense as I run through this. Okay, so here we go. So inside local WP, you know what? I'm just going to do it either way. So the whole thing about Composer is that you just basically go there and run. So it's app public, and I'm going to make it larger. So from here, we have this composer.json file that I had just created, and it basically lists a bunch of plugins that I want to install right away. And so I just do composer, install, prefer dist. And what it's going to do here is it's going to actually look through a bunch of repositories to locate those plugins. And for example, we have some popular things like auto optimize, which compresses JavaScript and CSS. I usually do disable comments to disable commenting on WordPress because it's a security issue. It's always a security nightmare. So is XML RPC and a bunch of, like Google Analytics, things like that. And it basically keys off of this WP packagist, which I will show you. And there might be a lot of information that I'm giving here, but for example, we could look up Google Analytics. You'll see all the plugins that's on like WordPress.org as public plugins will be listed in WPackagist. And then what you can do is using Composer, you would be able to download the latest versions of all these plugins. And then all you got to do is from here, if I were to reload this page, you'll see that all these plugins are now in on my site, including private ones like Advanced Custom Fields Pro, which I purchased and I put it into my own code repository. So let me just go ahead and enable all these plugins. Okay. So all these plugins now installed, including custom fields. And for anyone that is new to Advanced Custom Fields, I'll just show you a little bit. For example, like here's, let's look at a page. And if you say, hey, you know what, it'd be great if I could add like a secondary, image to this page. You could very quickly go into Advanced Custom Fields, create a new field group. We'll just call it like page custom fields. And we can say that, page is equal to sample page. And then we'll add, we'll say, extra thumbnail. And then I'll pick image type and I'll publish this. So now if we were to go back to the sample page, see down here, page custom fields. Now we can add an extra image and of course we don't have any extra images, which just give me a second. I'm gonna also WP plugin install instant images. Okay. Sorry. Go back to plugins. We have this thing called instant images. Have any ever used instant images? No? So what it does is it gives you a library of free open source, like license, like royalty free images that you could pick. So for example, I'm going to come down to this extra thumbnail ACF I've created. Now I have this instant images. I can just pick one of these. And what it does is actually pulls the image from the, I can't remember the name of the site. I'll look it up. And these are all kind of like images you can use for your website that you don't need to pay for, or basically they're kind of like open license, right? I probably should have picked a smaller image so it doesn't have to resize. I'll pick another one. Let's see if we, what if we look for like Ohio? I don't know. This one better? There we go. All right. So now you can get an extra thumbnail up to your page, and then it's just a matter of how you would take that particular field that has that image now saved for this page, and then you, in your template, you'd be able to call that page, right? Right, so that's the power of advanced custom fields. You could create additional fields for any page, any template, any post, anything that you want, and that keeps with you. And so one of the things that, as you can see here, is that it keeps all the fields down at the bottom and not part of this content block. So, you know, if you wanted to say add, you know, a block, and you're looking through your inventory of buttons or contacts or, you know, whatever it is that you have here, and you don't find anything that is specific to what you need it for, you can then create ACF and use that block in this area. Does that make sense? So the anatomy of an ACF block, that basically what you need to do before you can even create it is that for this plugin that we're going to be creating, there is just, sorry, let me just get back. A couple of things you need. First is, because we want to have the ability to basically view the presentation in context, right? So the major thing we want to do there is to be able to surface the CSS and or JavaScript that's associated with the block you're going to be creating to be viewable inside the WP admin area as well as outside it on the front end, right? And that way, whatever you generate here would also look the same when people are viewing it from the front end. And so for that, you would create a function, and in that function, you would add in the ability to enqueue those JavaScripts. So in this case, what I'm doing here, just as an explanation, is that there are these hooks, these action hooks that you can add into your code. that would then call this function. And what we're doing is we're calling it at this time called WP enqueue script. And by the way, if anybody's interested in like understanding more about these different action hooks, let me know. We can maybe come up with another intro into them. So these two particular action hooks are the perfect places to insert any CSS or JavaScript that you're going to be customizing, right? So by doing this, I'm basically inserting this ACF custom ACF blocks CSS and this custom ACF blocks JavaScript. That's going to live inside this directory to both the WP admin view of it as well as the external view of it. Okay. So let me go ahead and create those CSS and JavaScript. Let's see. Sorry. Custom CSS. Okay. And they're just putting some basic CSS and JavaScript in there just as a placeholder. Okay. So that's one part of the having your own Gutenberg block, is to make sure that you have the way to surface out the custom styles you're going to be creating. Then the other piece is the actual registering of that block for you to be able to connect your fields to in ACF. So this is one of the two main components of an ACF Gutenberg block. So first is the function. And so I'm just, it could be anything. It could be my block number one, like whatever you want to call it. And in here, you want to make sure that you have advanced custom fields installed and that it has this function called ACF Register Block. So this is the thing that's going to register. Whoa. I hope that person was okay. Hello? All right. Okay. So, and within this particular function, we're registering this block, and this block has an array of of information. So you have the name, the title, the description, and then here this is also the second part of it. So there are two pieces, right? One is to register the block with an ACF, so you could tie something to it, and then the second part of it is that you need a way for the ACF block function to be able to then render the block. So we have this block now identified, and now we're going to hook it up.
It's Adam Silver doing that. Adam Silver. I watched his microphone come on.
See. Well, that's
he just changed his name to Johnson. Now Pablo.
Dude, kill yourself. Holy shit.
Obviously, he needs to be excused.
He changed his name.
Jeez. All right. That's okay. Okay. So let's keep going. And now that you have this block initialized, if we were to go back to our custom fields, we can start the process of actually creating the ACF for this particular block that we just named. And I'll show you, hopefully this will start to make more sense. So I'm just going to call it, I don't know, I guess, first demo. Oh, so normally just as a naming convention, not that it's really matters, a lot of people like to do kind of prepend the name of your ACS field. Can we kick him out, David? How do we do that? David, are you there?
I think Dave, you are host.
I'm the host? Okay. Let me see if I could figure out a
I
way
think he's
to.
changing names very fast.
Yeah, he keeps changing his name.
All right, so
But
let's see if.
we'll keep a watch. Next time we identify him, we'll let you know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I guess if that's how he gets his jollies on a Tuesday night, what else can we do? All right. So we're going to call this Gutenberg demo block. And so remember that basically what we've done here is we've registered this block. I'm calling it my block. And so while we're creating this particular ACF, then we would be able to get to block is equal to, and here you see it says my block. Does that make sense?
It looks like Randy L.
It does. It's the
Yeah, I
same
think-
way you have widgets in ACF, yeah?
Yeah. So
If it's by the name of Steve, if you can kick him out. Steve CTNBMOPO something.
No, that's me. I'm not doing it.
yeah,
Oh, I'm so
hopefully
sorry.
I got him, unless he comes back. Did he come back?
I actually think there were two of them.
Okay. So now we have Jeremiah Larenson and Jerry Wellsworth. Maybe we should be checking out names to see who we should be letting in. But at least I think, okay. And I'm sorry, someone had a question. I kind of got distracted there for a second from all the. Okay. So was it Jillian? Did you, or somebody had a question about what this is. So basically, as you know, very first thing that you do is to register this particular block, and you give it a name, the title here, my block, right? Like if I called this my demo block and I save it, let me just reload. Leave page. As long as, you know, as soon as I pick the block down here, it's going to look through all and see here it is, my demo block, right? So now, as I add field to this particular set, it will be used whenever I call this block in my Gutenberg editor, okay? So let me just go ahead and create, just to make sure I have it. So I'm going to do, I'm going to create an image, call it image, and that's an image. Oh, and one thing I would just, you know, more of a, like a thing to do here is, in Gutenberg blocks, that could be, the layout of it could be either vertical or horizontal. And because all these, the way that you're going to be editing Gutenberg blocks created by ACF is very different. That basically what we want to do is really to change the, where is it? I'm sorry, I'm kind of talking and trying to do this at the same time, but we want to align them differently, and I can't seem to find it. Label placement. Where is it? Where is it? preview. Oh man, where'd it go? All right, I'll deal with it later. So let me just create all the fields so we can get show you exactly how this works. So we have image, copy, and second copy. Create another one called copy. I'll make this WYSIWYG editor, and I'll create another field called second copy. And I'll just make that text, that's fine. So now I'm gonna publish this. I can't really see where the, all right, that's fine. Okay, so just by those two things, right? So we have registered this block using the ACF Register Block, and then we identified it, and then now we've gone here and created this block. If we were to go to any page or post, we can then find that block. What do we call it? My demo block. Here it is. And I could add it. And from here, I could pick an image. I could put in some copy. I could put in a second copy here. And you'll notice that nothing is showing, right? Because the other piece that we need to do that I was talking about, which is really important, is the callback. So over here, remember, this is where the magic happens. Render callback. What this is saying is, okay, now you've created this Gutenberg block, and I know there are these fields I can save for this particular page, right? How does it get displayed? So the way that that works is, let me get back to my, you would just, here I already called it this function called my block render callback. So we just need to create that function. And all that function is going to do is it's going to get the fields that you have set up for that ACF. So we have a field called image. We have a field called copy. And then we have another field called second copy. And these are very standard Gutenberg block. Is there everybody on? Did I lose everyone? Oh no, I see everybody. Okay.
You can hear.
I'm here.
Okay, good. So now if I were to try this again, insert before, I'm going to find my block. Here's my demo block. And again, on the right side, we have, you see these fields here. And so from here, I could pick like, or pick a different image. This person smoking. Still resizing. Here we go. There it is. You actually get to see like the content you're entering, right? So this is the copy that goes below the image. And then, you know, any styles that you want to put to it, it will show up immediately. And then this is, if I can type, second. Okay. Does that make sense on how this works? So it's pretty simple. I know there's some concepts that you need to understand. But for the most part, it's really just number one, in queuing the styles that you're going to have. Number two is to, init kind of the register block you're going to have, right? And in here you have your description. And by the way, like if you see when I was adding a block, the custom block I created, you see there's this camera and music icon, and that's just this thing right here. And you can go through the WordPress, I forget what it's called, icon library thing. I'm sure that's not the actual term of it, but WordPress.
Icons,
What is it called?
Dashicons, I think.
You're right. And so you'd be able to, use any of these. So I think it's like if this is admin media, if we change it to admin post, and then we come back here, we reload the page. See, now it's a pin. So you can do different things to identify the custom blocks you're going to have. You'd be able to place multiple blocks. I must be on a different post here. So we add a different image. Test. And you can keep adding more of these. So it's just an easy way for you to have a customized presentation that you want, and then you can put that anywhere using ACF. Any questions there? And we can, I can show you a little bit on, like, say, design. So just.
I have a quick question. Is there anything that you have to do to save it, like, old school meta blocks or anything, or you just update and it's there?
You just update and it's there.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I mean, you mean like you have to hit this update in your post for it to be.
No, like in older code, I guess every time you added a widget or whatever,
you have to save there, and then no, it's and then the other thing is that
you had to save it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying.
Yep, absolutely. And like things you can do here, for example, I know in my demo rendering, right? So then the second part is the render callback, right? You're basically just adding some HTML, and what it does is via Ajax, as you're typing, it'll keep trying to pull that render and plop it into the same place, and that's why you could like kind of type in the field and you see it updating in real time. So if I want, I can say, here's my block h2 font size. We'll just make it like 3 rem. If I did that correctly, let's see if I did. So see now, oh, maybe I didn't. My block h2. My block h2. Yeah, so now the I don't know why it didn't work. Oh, that's the P. I don't have anything in H2. That's why. I didn't put a title. Okay, I need a title for this thing. Give me 1 second. Going back to my custom fields. Here's my demo Gutenberg block. I'm going to add a field called title. I'm going to update it. I can come right back to the page. I can click into this block. Here's my title. This is my title. And see, there it is, right? And it's much larger, and it's going to use the CSS that I've just created. Yep. So that's one way you can use it. The other really powerful thing about using ACF blocks is that you can also create like a repeater, and I'll show you that. And it'll be exactly the same thing. So we'll just call this ACF or and again, you have kind of the repeating block, registering the block. I'm calling this the repeating block. And then again, we have this rendering, which rendering function we can talk about in a bit. And just to cheat, all I'm going to do is I'm going to include this new block I just created right below the main file that I just had. So if we go back and take a look at this, I'm going to say demo repeating block. The block type. So here's my repeating block. And what do I have here? Let me just basic repeating block. We're going to create basically a field called repeater. And this is using the repeater field. You can call it whatever you like. And then within the repeater, we have title, image, and copy. So title, image, which is going to be an image. And then copy, which will just make it WYSIWYG. And this I know for sure we could, the layout of it, I'm just going to pick block. And I'll publish this.
Why did you pick block? Is there any reason?
Yes. So let me go back to it not being block. Good question. I'll just do table, which is the default. And then we're going to use this block. And I'll show you why I picked block. So over here, we're going to add that new Gutenberg block. Here's my repeating block. So remember, the rendering happens in context, right? But the fields actually show on the right column. And the unfortunate thing is that in WordPress, the right column has basically a max width.
That is
so
awesome.
So see how like they're all,
Got it.
this is the title, and then we, like it just, right? So let me just update that. So if we were to, sorry, let me go back here, and I change this to block. If I was editing the page, so this is the repeating. I don't know, maybe I didn't save the other one. Insert before, my repeating block. So at least now, it's easier to like, this is the title, here's the image, and then here's a copy, and then you can keep adding rows to it. The other thing is that with a repeater, you could also click on the switch to edit, and you can actually edit everything within the spot where you want the block to go. So you kind of have a choice to either, you know, manage your content within that spot so it's easier to look at and find, or, you know, if you wanted to look in context, you could also flip it back and see it. You know, I don't know, did I mess something up? It's not really rendering. So let's see here. Repeating blocks, my repeating block callback. Right. So does that make sense? Any questions?
Is there any way to include styles and on the side so you can change like the size of the image?
So you can kind of do all that customization yourself. So then, and I'll give you an example. What's the So basically, you could create ACF that has those styling controls. So let me see which ones I would have. Let's see what's new. Oh, these are columns. These, okay. So this is a custom ACF Gutenberg block. Sorry. And so I just created another ACF that's a drop down that has like thumbnail, large, full. And I just, and you can see it's trying to render on the left. It'll jump a little bit. So that's how you would do it. You actually create additional ACF, and then in your code, you can use those to then like select the size. So if you know you have like a thumbnail size, a medium size, yeah, so it is, you know, changing the presentation here. See, now it's different. So that's how you could do it, is you just create those additional ACF fields, and in your own code, you can then detect the change and change the size. So for this one here, you know, you could add in a caption. It's loading in an MPEG-4 from a URL, or you can say it's not a video URL, and it'll just kind of have the image, and then, or you know, you still have a URL, and you can have it open in a new tab. So this is like a very custom Gutenberg block that could be used on any page or any content, really, paste or post, that is customized to this particular client.
Cool, very cool.
Any other questions? I'm hoping I know, you know, I sometimes I run too fast, and I just want to make sure we're clear about kind of the key elements of like an ACF. Like, you have to register the block first, otherwise it won't show up for you to create that ACF with, right? And then the other big piece is just the callback. And that's just how you're going to be rendering. There are some basic attributes for any of the ACF blocks that you create. One is the class name. So with every kind of, it's harder to see with this one. Let me see if I could find one. When you click on a block, there's always this advanced tab. And within the advanced tab, you can add like CSS classes, right? So we could say, you know, this is a test, and we'll update this. Oops, preview. So for this particular block, it's going to have that this is a test class name added to it if I had done it correctly, which I didn't. So block class, this is the regular one. Okay, so let me reload that. So I don't know if you could see here, but this block now has this additional class name called this is a test. So if you ever need to, like, you know, say you put in 4 or 5 of these blocks on your page and you needed to target each one of them differently, then you can use this additional CSS that comes by default, and you add in, like, you know, a specific CSS class in there, then you can actually target that with whatever custom styles you want to put in. Does that make sense?
That's great.
Any other questions? Okay. That's kind of the end of my demo. So
is ACF more geared toward developers?
I would say so, because there's no easy way to render. Like, they make it easy for you to store additional data to a piece of content, but you are in control of, or you're responsible to then render that out. There's not really that many easy ways to say you create a bunch of fields and then all of a sudden it just pops up somewhere.
Is there a lot of, I'm not really sure what the term is, but is there a lot of, you know, from a website and building web pages, does this add a lot of load to the website, you know, say versus other plugins?
Well, it does. So there is some performance sacrifice, and we can talk about that a little bit. So the way that advanced custom fields works is that it ends up creating kind of these objects, these arrays, and they store them in WP options. And when you pull them out, it comes with, like, I have a field name named title, and it's going to hold this type of data. Or I have a field name named image, and it's going to hold this type of data. Then when you're actually saving that piece of content in whatever post it is, under the post meta, they will have the field name that's associated with. So there's a bunch of kind of like fetching of database fields to get the structure of the custom fields, and then matching it up to your post meta to then pull those out for each post that it needs to pull it out from. So there's definitely a performance trade-off with that. But here's the other thing that you can do. And this is normally what I do, is if I'm okay with this particular block, I can generate a PHP. So here's the PHP of representation of that block. And I would just copy that, and then I could put it within my plugin. So here I'm going to call it ACF, you know, demo block .php. So here it is. Here's my representation of this particular Gutenberg. I even spelled it wrong, demo block. And then as long as I then include this file into my main, you know, plugin, or like functions.php, for example, like if I just do this, and what do I call it? ACF demo block. Now, when I'm using that particular block, instead of having to pull it from the database, put it into memory, make it available for WordPress, and then try to pull the custom post type. This is actually now kind of pulled in on the loading of the website, so it's available without making those database round trips.
Okay, you talked about post. This all also applies to pages too, right? Not just post, correct?
Yes. So pages, posts, like you can even have it on well, you could also do it on custom post types. Yeah.
Okay.
So anywhere where there's a Gutenberg presentation, you can pull that block out from there. So we've been working on pages, but definitely we can do it on posts as well. So basically you're creating these little snippets of blocks that could be used anywhere. And there would be some like styling strategy, like if you're going to create CSS for that block, you want to key it off of whatever block name that you're creating with it. So for example, this is my block demo again. I'll just add an image. And in my rendering code, my outermost container, I want to have like a custom class where I could target that to. And then inside my CSS, I would always kind of key off of that custom class. And that way, wherever that block lives, whether it's a page or a post, you know that it's going to take on the styles that you kind of target. So if you make sure that your outermost container has a custom block class, then you could put it anywhere and have the same style, like look and feel. And then it also makes it easier. Like if you are making it responsive, right? So in the case of Gutenberg blocks, the developer is responsible to make the block responsive. So here you would then like set your breakpoints and set, whether you're doing a flex box or grid or whatever it is, you would actually do all that stuff here, because the idea is that when you hand this off to your customer, that they can't really break it. Like all the styles are kind of like set for them. It's not like Divi or other kind of layout editors where they get to tweak little things and you end up with broken things here and there. When you're building your Gutenberg block, you are responsible for the responsiveness of it. So, plan that out and think of where the block could live and make sure that it covers kind of the potential kind of width and height limitations for whatever place that the block could go into. Does that make sense?
Yes. What tool are you in there?
This is Visual Studio Code.
Are you just in a text editor or a file manager?
Yeah, this is just a text editor. Open. Yep.
Is that Apple? Is that Apple?
Yes.
Okay.
You could, so Visual Studio Code also lives for the PC as well. You could have this for the PC, so you could edit the code on your WordPress site.
Yeah, you're just looking at the back end of where all that stuff is located. Correct.
So I create, yeah. So, and just to give you a little bit of kind of like context of where we are. So we have the plugins folder. We created a plugin, and then inside the plugin, we have some key files. The top level file is this one that we're calling ACF Custom Blocks. And then within it, we have basically initting the styles in the JavaScript to be used for the block, and also registering the block with advanced custom fields, and then also creating a function for the callback so that we could render the block with the appropriate data out. And that's all within the plugin area of this site.
So I assume that a lot of the work like this that you do is for a customer that really doesn't edit their own site, correct?
I would say that it's for a customer that does edit their own site, but you know, you wanted to make it where there is a separation between design and content.
Okay, they're more content where you're controlling the design of it.
Right. So for consistency, right? You know, this block,
Right.
like they can't tweak it to make it look different and break your design, or it's just that they tweak it so much that they break it, and then you're going to have to go fix it, right? So I would say that it's really to make it easier for customers to be able to, like, you know, create what they want with the custom fields that you create for them.
Okay, thank you.
For
Any
that-
other question? Yep.
For the callback, could that code
Yep.
be put directly on the theme page?
This code could be put, I'm sorry, where?
When I used advanced custom fields before, I put the code on the theme page.
You can. So you could totally, you know, inside whatever theme that you're using, I'm guessing it's 2021 inside functions, you could totally, I just lost my place. Where is it? This one, sorry. You could totally put these functions here. I'll just take it out into this functions.php anywhere in here. And it will do the same thing. So inside your theme, as long as it's accessible by ACF, like so in the sequence of loading, as long as it's available there before it loaded up, so you know, anywhere inside the theme in the functions will work. Does that make sense? So this will still load. Or not? Did I just break it? I'm not sure exactly which. It should be using the 2021 theme. Custom block in it.
I'm not sure if you saved your page.
Let's see here. Insert before. There it is. It's there. I must have just lost it with the context, but it's there. So yeah, so it could totally go inside the theme and it'll still work. Any other questions?
Would you be
Okay.
able to go? Oh, sorry. Can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
go ahead. Yep.
Sorry. Can you go back and show the part where you insert the CSS, like the style part?
Sure. So I do have to. This wouldn't work here, so I'll just move this back, just to show you. Save here. Go back to the Gutenberg demo. Okay. So for the CSS, let's see, register style, custom ACF blocks, CSS, and custom ACF blocks JS. So here, what we have is inside this plugin, we call the different enqueue scripts, whether it's for the front or the back, and inside the actual function that this enqueue is calling, we're registering the styles and enqueuing it here, and then we're enqueuing the JavaScript. So that would allow any custom CSS and JavaScript to be loaded into the front end, and as well as in the admin WP admin area.
Okay.
And here, you know, it's just like a plain CSS. So whatever styles that I actually created for the functions. So whatever class this is, and then, you know, any, like, we could target them in our custom CSS to affect the look and feel of that, of the blocks that we're creating.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions? Cool. All right. I'll try to make all this stuff available, and I'm still trying to put together, yeah, there are links for videos that probably do a much better job than explaining this to me, than me. And then also I might try to figure out a way to clean this up a bit with a bunch of comments. So then you can use it as a template if you want to create your own ACF Gutenberg blocks. So and I'll work with David to post that somewhere.
Can you post the text of the code so that we can try
Yes.
to replicate it?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. I'll do that.
What I'll do is I'll paste links on the actual as a comment to the meetup page for this particular event. I'll have a link to the video that's going to be on YouTube once it's done uploading, and then also any links that Dave passes on to me.
Cool. What do you guys think? Is it? Yeah.
One thing I
Sorry,
did want to add, Dave, you did a great presentation that ACF, there is a free version, but for the Gutenberg block portion of it, you will have to buy the premium or the pro version to have access to that. That's one thing I wanted to add about the ACF plugin itself.
And there are also other ways to, you could technically not write any code and have, there's all these like additional ACF components that would enable you to do all the hooks and the callbacks without having to write any code. It gets a little clunky because then you just have a lot of buttons and stuff to click on, and then you still have to write some code into another ACF field. And then the performance suffers because you actually have to then load those ACF fields after you've loaded the other ACF fields so that it knows what to do. So if anybody's interested in that, we can also maybe go over that in one of these meetups. And queue and callbacks will be a great topic. All right, I can do that. We can work that out. That would be a good thing we can talk about. Maybe not next time or the time after, something like that. Anything else?
Are you part of this meetup group, the NEO?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for doing this presentation. That was awesome.
Was it too technical? Not. I mean, what do you guys feel?
No, it was just right.
Okay.
Yeah, for a non-programmer, it may have been a little technical, but it was a good introduction to it, you know, for not being a programmer. So
I see.
I was able to follow it. I would just have to, you know, get up to a little more speed of what you're doing on the back end, but it was interesting to see the concept.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe next time I can think about adding things for the non-programmer as well, because there are things that you can do, and there's like minimal coding you can do that will get you kind of like, you know, the power of ACF, and so you could still, you know, so you don't have to do a lot of programming to use it. So, yeah.
I use Elementor and Elementor Pro a lot, so I was kind of interested in this demo to see what other alternatives were.
Yeah, I mean, so my whole thing about Elementor and like Divi and all those is really like part of it is performance and part of it is security. The both of those things. Elementor just had a major security like event, but they, number one is need you to have pretty much your whole website writable by the web server. And then they have all these like files that save into different areas to kind of help them speed up what they need to do. And then, you know, there's a whole bunch of JavaScript and CSS that you don't know what it is. And so this is a little bit more kind of like secure. And also you get to really customize it to however you need to for your client.
Yeah, that's what interests me in you know, learning something different. So thank you. It was a great presentation.
That's awesome. I'm glad you came. Cool.
Dave, Patty had a question. Are the days of needing to build massive flexible content repeater page builders over now?
Well, I would also say that it probably shouldn't have existed in the first place. So I think if you need to do a repeater in ACF, I'm wondering if it could have been like a custom post type, So it depends on what it is you want to do. There might be better ways to repeat, because the thing with ACF is that as you repeat, it's saved as one big kind of serialized array, right? So the cost is really one is the storage, and then the second is the kind of rendering of it into an array. And then there's also a risk of breaking it. If you were to have it as like distinct database records in some kind of repeating, then the cost could be kind of the initial load, but you can also do like a performance to keep that kind of loop in cache or something like that. So I would always say that if you find yourself doing a huge thing of repeater, perhaps think about making that into, like a custom post type. Anything else? Anyone? Cool.
Well, I think that does it tonight. Dave, you can switch me back to host.
Oh,
Appreciate it. This is the last little bit. There will be no meetup next month in April because we do have the online WordCamp. That's going to be on April the 16th to the 18th. So please feel free to check that out. We'll have a lot of different sessions. We'll basically be posting a schedule once we get the speakers selected. But thank you everybody for coming. Please feel free to leave any comments or questions you have on the meetup page, and Dave or myself will get back to you when we can. All right. Have a great night, everyone.
yep. Alrighty.